Yo, I've been muted. I've been muted. I did not realize that. What's up, everyone? What's going on? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You guys hear me changing themes. You hear me doing stuff on stream, but you don't hear me. I was just saying, Bel'Veth, I think, has one of the best themes in all of RUNETERRA. Her theme is the void. I don't use any other... nothing describes void to me more than this eerie violin that she has going on. And today we're going to be talking through Xolaani and Bel'Veth, two of the biggest threats we have in RUNETERRA. And Xolaani, it really depends on, which timeline we end up on. But she is definitely a threat. And a threat that's only getting worse. If we end up on the right timeline with Xolaani, Xolaani is a bigger threat than anyone. Bel'Veth is who we're starting with. The Void has a new master, and it's terrifying. The Lavender Sea, a deep dive into Bel'Veth's lore. This world will not be forgotten. I will replace it. A child devouring its parent. It's like you guys know spiders? Spiders do that a lot of the time. Spiders devour their parents. A weak home. The Empress has arrived. A nightmarish Empress created from the raw material of an entire devoured city. Bel'Veth is the end of RUNETERRA itself, and the beginning of a monstrous reality of her own design. She is terrifying. She's a terrifying evolution of the Void, a sentient cancer with a singular vision to consume all of reality and remake it into something beautiful, monstrous, and entirely her own. She is the Lavender Sea, threatening to wash over all of RUNETERRA. Man, the Lavender Sea. If we don't end up in the Lavender Sea at one, there's going to be literally an expansion for the Riot mode titled Lavender Sea. It's just going to be RUNETERRA Lavender Sea. And everyone should go nuts when they see that. But in order to understand Bel'Veth, we need to go back to the beginning. Before, not just RUNETERRA, but before the universe of RUNETERRA, before the material universe even existed. The beginning, the Void and the Watchers. Before existence, there was only a void, a realm of pure silent nothingness. Its peace was shattered by the birth of reality. Beyond the material plane, outside and somehow below it, lies an unknowable abyss. It is the realm of the Void where no mortal or immortal creature may ever walk. In that place, in the cold, endless dark, all is equal and empty. For timeless eons, there was purity in that fact. Then, something changed. Not in the Void realm, but somewhere else. It was existence. It was something where before there had been nothing, and its mere presence scraped against the vast, cold, formless entities that drifted in the blackness. And these are images that I actually created. So if you can see on the left, you can see the Watchers kind of thing. The Watchers are what we call them. Think of them as just the beings that are in the Void. That's all we know of that's in the Void. There might be other stuff. It might be just them. The Void is nothing. There's nothing there. As you can see, it's just black behind them. This is reality on the right. That's where we exist. Man, this is a little bit loud, isn't it? It's a loud theme. And then this is on the other side is reality, and that's where Aurelian's soul exists. And Aurelian's soul is the one who created every single star in our cosmos. The problem is, the stars, they be bright, and these guys were sleeping, literal Void. They liked it. They enjoyed it. It was like a bubble bath to them. And then suddenly, Aurelian's soul just starts creating all these stars. Well, that sucks for them. Let's go back to we'll loop through this one. That sucks for them because it woke them up, basically. These entities, who came to be known as the Watchers, could not tolerate the intolerable pulsing of reality. They attempted to invade the material realm, but were disoriented by concepts like time, heat, and pain. Trapped and betrayed, they adapted, creating the first Voidborn to be their eyes and ears. One of the first and most powerful of these was Vel'Koz, the Eye of the Void. So then you can see Vel'Koz's cinematic here. I think it does a great job describing Vel'Koz.
Your species intrigues me. do I.
Yeah, so this guy's dead. Vel'Koz, what he's doing is he steals literally the knowledge of RUNETERRA, and he's looking for weaknesses. He's not there just hungry for knowledge. They created Vel'Koz to find weaknesses on RUNETERRA, so the next time the Watchers invade, they'll win. The first betrayal, Lyssandra's bargain. And I think, honestly, Lysandra deserves a whole video to herself that we could definitely go through. If you guys are interested in Lyssandra's lore, she ties really well into the Watchers. But long before the fall of Acacia, the Watchers found a foothold in the mortal world through the Ice Witch, Lysandra. Unknown to her sisters, Lysandra struck a deal on their behalf with the godlike entities she had communed with. Oh, I got to update this. I'll come back to this. Let me just update this real quick, guys. 2 seconds. I do have to do it. Because this, I wish I could update it in Streamlabs, but I can't. I just gotta set the thumbnail. Where is it? The end. That's what I called it. Then I gotta do this. I gotta add. I'll just go like this. And just grab these tags from somewhere else. We'll grab it from, I had another Xolaani video, right? Or like a darkened video. Why not this one? Then we'll add Bel'Veth to it. Boop. Game, League of Legends. And the tags. Let me take away a little too much darken. We add Bel'Veth. Okay. Perfect. Save. Hopefully this saves just fine, and then we get back to the story. Okay, we're good. Right? Yeah. Alright. Then this thing needs like the same. You guys didn't know it took so much stuff on the back end. There we go. Okay. Changes saved. Nice. Okay. We were at right here. The first betrayal, Lyssandra's bargain. And honestly, Lysandra definitely deserves a video to herself. And we should do an article on her. But long before the fall of Acacia, the Watchers found a foothold in the mortal world through the Ice Witch, Lysandra. Unknown to her sisters, Lysandra struck a deal on their behalf with the godlike entities she had communed with. The Watchers would grant them near immortality in exchange for preparing RUNETERRA for the coming of the Void. When her sisters, Avarosa and Cirilda, refused to serve the Void, Lysandra made a terrible choice. As the Void erupted in the Freljord, she sacrificed her own family and their allies, entombing the Watchers beneath a glacier of magical, true ice. And I don't know if you ever played Song of Nunu. I do want to play through these games with you guys and just like run through all of Riot Forge because there's so much lore in them. I think it'd be fun for us to play and talk through it. But right here, you can see Lysandra. This is like showing the Lysandra on the right and the sisters. You can see the ships landing. They're meeting with the Yetis. They're talking about the Void and whatnot and dark ice. The Yetis look upset. The Yetis and her sisters, Cirilda and Avarosa. Avarosa's the one with the bow. Cirilda's the one with the mace. Lysandra's the one in front. Are going to battle the Void. And you can see some tendrils there on the left. And there's Lysandra sacrificing the Yetis and everyone else in order to win the war. She doesn't really win. She kind of just halts it. And the way she halts it is by freezing the Watchers in true ice beneath the Howling Abyss. And the Howling Abyss was actually dug and the bridge built by Ornn, who's one of my favorite characters in the lore. However, the prison was not perfect. The Watchers were merely slumbering, slowly tainting the ice and haunting Lysandra's dreams. As the story The Eye in the Abyss reveals, this ancient prison is now failing. It's melting, Sigvar managed. One of the 9, something emerged. The Watchers stir, breathed the priest, eyes widening. Perhaps in awe, perhaps in fear. And that's literally a Watcher, frozen at the bottom of the Howling Abyss. The most terrifying thing about the Watchers is their patience. The Watchers are just sitting down there waiting for the ice to melt, the true ice to melt. And they've been waiting there well, technically they do have Voidborn running around, right? Doing stuff for them. But it's just the patience of them, the sitting, the waiting, that they just don't seem to care. Like, they really give you that feeling of inevitability. I don't think Vel'Koz is in Legends of Runeterra, right? I mean, in Wild Rift. I want like a Void guy for this part of the stream. Because we ain't doing Xolaani. At least not yet. There we go. We can do Kha'Zix. He's a Voidborn. Yeah, we might do a whole video. Let me know if you guys want to do a whole video on the Eye in the Abyss. It's probably my favorite lore story in all of Runeterra lore. In every short story they've ever made, I think the Eye in the Abyss is my favorite. So if you guys ever wanted to do like a whole video on the Eye in the Abyss, I'd be okay with it. The second betrayal, the fall of Acathia. Centuries after the Watchers were imprisoned, the Shuriman Empire dominated the world. The city of Acathia, chafing under Shuriman rule, sought a power great enough to win their freedom. They found it in the Void. The Chrono Keeper Xilian, a member of Acacia's governing council, foresaw the disaster. And so if you go here, map of Runeterra, we can see Acacia and Shurima. Now, when we enter the Riot MMO, when it finally opens up and we finally actually enter the world of Runeterra, I don't want to see Acacia on the map. I want to see it literally erased, because in Shurima, they erased Acacia from history. They erased it off the maps, they erased the name, it doesn't exist. And for a reason, because if anyone goes into Acacia and stirs the Void, it's almost in a slumber there, it'll wake up. So, I don't want to see this on the map when we enter the Riot MMO. But this is Acacia, and this is Shurima up here on the left. Yo, thanks for the follow, miss. Thank you, thank you. Right up here, Shurima. Right down here, Acacia. This is how close they are. And so Acacia was under the rulership of Shurima. They didn't really like that. And that led to a war. And you could see Acacia here on the right, Shurima here on the left. It looks almost fair here. Shurima was much more powerful than them. And it was not really a war. It was almost like a slaughter. You can tell just by the size of Shurima versus Acacia. Shurima was the world power at this point. Xilian, on the other hand, literally saw this coming, told everyone, like, don't mess with the Void. It's not a good thing. He looked to these reasoned, wise Acacians, but saw only madness in their eyes. As much as it grieved him, Xilian would rather his homeland's revolution be crushed than let this abomination be set loose. Xilian's worst fears proved true. Once unleashed in battle, the Void overwhelmed the mages attempting to control it, and Acacia was doomed. Could have told them that would happen. Yeah. Not great. Not great. Acacia really caused us problems for the Riot MMO that we'll have to solve. The Void consumed Acacia, creating a permanent scar on the world and a gateway for its horrors. This is literally the Void war with Acacia. In Acacia, you can see the Void coming out. At this point, it's not really Shurima versus Acacia. Once the Void is released and starts killing everyone, it's Shurima and Acacia versus the Void. You can see the orange here is probably Acacia. They're turned around fighting the Void, and you can see the yellow is Shurima, and they're also fighting the Void. Yeah. Man, that's such a terrifying picture. There's another image of just the Void, and these are some of the Voidborn that, like, when Voidborn first come out, they don't look like Kha'Zix, okay? You're not going to see a Voidborn just come out of the freaking womb like Kha'Zix. I think there's another Voidborn in here, right? Is there? I'm not sure. Kha'Zix is a Voidborn. You don't see a Voidborn just come out into existence like this. They come out almost like a glob of void. And then eventually they grow, get a little bigger, start taking shape. You can see this one starting to form a head. And eventually they will look like Kha'Zix based on their purpose. The ascended host of Shurima waged a desperate war against this new threat. Two figures were key in this fight: the Istali ascended mage Nizuk and the great Shurima ascended hero Harak. And you gotta remember, Ishtal and Shurima were allies here. They were buddies. So when they were going to fight Acathia, there may have been some Istali with Shurima. But the main thing is that once the Void came out, Ishtal was definitely a part of this war. Because, after all, Ishtal is pretty much almost bordered with Acathia. And so if the Void got out, that'd be a problem. Ishtal even had ascended. Just like Shurima had ascended, Ishtali mages literally helped Shurima build the Sun Disk. And so Ishtal, just like Shurima, had ascended gods. A lot of people don't know that. They always think, oh, just Shurima had ascended. Not the case. Ishtal as well. Skarner was around back then, yeah. Nizuk, this is the guy from Ishtal, created a colossal floating fortress of living stone called the Monolith. As detailed in Malphite's biography, this weapon fought the Void for weeks until it was finally overwhelmed and crashed into the earth, deepening the abyss over Acathia. While the Monolith was mostly destroyed, a single shard, Malphite, survived. Meanwhile, Harak, another Ascended, was the first to take the fight directly to the Void. Harak, it was, that struck the first telling blow against your masters. Great and mighty Harak of the Ascended host, whose name shall live forever. It was Harak who first dared to face you down there in the darkness, away from the light from the sun, and away from the light of the sun had given him his strength. It was Harak who first bore the nether blade into the Void's vile heart. That's because Harak literally dove into the underground of the Void, dove underneath, and found Void hearts which he destroyed. And that's really what helped Shurima stop the Void here in Acathia. Harak's weapon, the Nether Blade, a bladed gauntlet, proved instrumental in fighting the Voidborn. You can get this item. In League of Legends, it's not as powerful. After his death, the weapon was entombed, waiting for a time when it would be needed again. And how can you get this weapon? You just gotta play the right character. The birth of a new Void. While the Watchers slept and the Voidborn waged war, the Void itself began to change. It was no longer a simple consuming nothingness. After every battle, every incursion, something more sinister grew deep within a hidden womb. The Void had taken a new hideous shape. In time, fueled by both humans opening rifts for war and the Watchers attempting to invade the Freljord, the blasphemous pocket of uncreation grew to embrace the opposites of the old Void: desire, want, need, and soon enough, it craved a leader. I wonder if all Void will become like this. Like the Watchers are trapped in the Howling Abyss that's all the way up here. Near Frostguard Citadel, you can see this bridge here. If you like really zoom in, I can't even zoom in that close, but if you guys look at the Frostguard Citadel, you can see like a little bridge, right? That's an abyss, and underneath that abyss is the Watchers. They're literally frozen down there. I wonder if the Watchers ever came out and started consuming reality and started consuming everyone, would they eventually become like Bel'Veth? Because the thing about Bel'Veth that makes her different from the Void is that she no longer hungers for the destruction of RUNETERRA. She hungers almost for knowledge and to consume things. Like, soon enough, it craved a leader. It had the old Void, but it also had like a desire to consume, and not just knowledge to end things, but knowledge itself. Why the Void needed a city, a new hunger. The original Void was a force of simple, silent unmaking. However, after eons of contact with RUNETERRA, it began to change fundamentally. It wasn't just erasing reality anymore, it was learning from it. The blasphemous pocket of uncreation grew to embrace the opposites of the old Void: desire, want, and need. Soon enough, it craved a leader, someone or something who could write a horrific new chapter in the world above and below. A leader who could interface with these humans, tell them of what was to come, and harvest their emotions and memories as they fought a bitter, fruitless war. The Void's goal shifted from pure annihilation to a monstrous form of creation. To create its new leader, it didn't need matter in the traditional sense. It needed data. It required a massive, concentrated source of life experience, knowledge, and feelings to serve as the consciousness for its new empress. A bustling port city like Bel'Veth was the perfect target, a nexus of trade, culture, and countless lives. Who unleashed the Void, the Prophet's purpose? And this is Malzahar, who's coming into play now. The agent of destruction was Malzahar. After becoming disillusioned with the endless suffering of the mortal world, he journeyed to the void rip of Acathia and saw what he believed was salvation, a final end to all pain through oblivion. He had to return to the people and spread word of the holy nothingness that would gladly embrace them, the willing of non-believers alike. He would become the herald of the world's salvation. As the herald for this new evolving void, Malzahar understood its need for a leader. Acting on this imperative, he used his immense power to facilitate the sacrifice. He opened great rifts in the earth beneath and around the city, unleashing hordes of Voidborn to consume it entirely. This was a calculated act to feed the womb of the new void. I honestly believe that this is where Bel'Veth was. It just makes sense to me. Look, this rock formation makes no sense. Like, regular water wouldn't do this. It wouldn't just cut into the land. If you add like a little piece here, then that makes sense that this would be like, the water would naturally flow, right? And this would be almost a cove between Acathia and Shurima. But this random jolt inland, this random cut, almost looks like a pizza, that doesn't add up. So I think that could have been Bel'Veth. Either that, or it's possible that over here on the Acathia side, if you look at that border between Acathia and Ishtal, there's like that little inland spot, but that looks more natural to me than this random pizza slice. So I think if anywhere was Bel'Veth, the city that was consumed, it's this. What the Devouring accomplished. Birth of an Empress. The Devouring of Bel'Veth was not just destruction for its own sake. It was a genesis. The Void didn't just eat people. It absorbed and processed them. Every person, every memory, every feeling, and every piece of the city's history became a building block for Bel'Veth's mind. Kaisa witnessed the aftermath, and Bel'Veth herself confirmed the purpose of the city's destruction. "You are the city," Kaisa spits. "Bel'Veth is you." "Yes," says Bel'Veth. "The raw components of their lives serves the genesis for my birth. Memories, emotions, history. I am as much Bel'Veth as they were, and I claim the title as my own." In summary, the Devouring of Bel'Veth was a deliberate and strategic sacrifice. It was orchestrated by Malzahar to fulfill the Void's need for a conscious leader, using the entire city and its population as the raw material to construct the mind of his new empress. So you have Malzahar, the Prophet of the Void, a gifted seer from Shurima. Malzahar was disillusioned with the endless cycle of pain and suffering in the mortal world. Seeking answers, that's what led him to journeying to the ruins of Acathia. There, gazing into the depths of the raged abyss, Malzahar opened his unsteady mind, desperate for understanding, and the Void answered. Malzahar had seen in the abyss an end to all the suffering he had witnessed in the mortal lifetime. He realized the future he had believed hidden from all this time. He realized the future he had believed hidden from him all this time was in fact a vision of his true calling, to accelerate the world toward inevitable oblivion. Now Malzahar serves as Bel'Veth's herald, believing that the total annihilation by the Void is the only true salvation for RUNETERRA. In the cinematic teaser, Bel'Veth's promise, she addresses him directly. So this is post. Basically, Bel'Veth is now awake at this point. Once she consumes the city of Bel'Veth, she is awake and operating. And the first thing she does is reach out to, her prophet, the person who's really built her up all this time while she was slumbering in a womb. And she reaches out to him.
My prophet, your empress has arrived. Witness your reward. The end of everything.
Bel'Veth is so freaking terrifying. I don't know why it jumps me all the way to the top every time I do full screen. My prophet, your empress has arrived. Witness your reward, the end of everything. Now we get into Kassadin and Kaisa, a family torn by the void. Let's pull up Kassadin. Kassadin is in here, and I really want you to see his gauntlet, because that's very important. Kassadin was a Shuriman guide who settled down with his wife and daughter Kaisa. His life was shattered when his village was destroyed by the void, an attack orchestrated by Malzahar's followers. Fearing for his own family's safety, Kassadin left the other behind, riding hard. When he finally reached the place where his village had once stood, he found only shifting sand and rubble. He clawed at the debris until his hands bled, screaming out his wife and daughter's names, though no answer came. Kassadin he was like a trader. He would take stuff almost to Shurima, around this area, and he would trade. I think he went to the port city of Bel'Veth in his short story to trade with, that's like a big port city, a big trade city. You got to remember like Piltover and Zon, Noxus, a lot of people around there. We know like Mbessa literally goes from Kumungra through Bel'Veth to Tereshni, so this is really a common port place. So if you wanted to trade, you'd probably go here. He ends up leaving his family to go trade, and then he was returning, and he ends up seeing some people like leaving, almost collapsing, and looking like they just came from a war zone. And they tell him like Zarima was under attack by the void. He starts sprinting. He finally makes it to Zarima. By the time he makes it there, its deed is already done. The whole city was consumed. It's all buried underground, and only screams are left behind. And that was the home. That was Kaisa and Kassadin's home. Believing his family dead, Kassadin swore revenge. He armed himself with forbidden technologies and sought out the one weapon that could fight the Abyss. He stole the infamous Netherblade of Harak. Now, as the Void Walker, his sole purpose is to hunt down and destroy Malzahar. Unbeknownst to him, his daughter survived. As a young girl, Kaisa was dragged into the void, where she merged with a living void carpus to stay alive. She emerged years later as Kaisa, a deadly hunter of the void. And I always felt like this is where Kaisa's most comfortable, because this is where she became the void hunter. Look at her intro to her theme. You can see she's almost like in a void tunnel. These tunnels exist all over Shurima. Under Acacia, you gotta remember, Harak, the way he was able to defeat the void, the way Harak was able to defeat the void was by going underneath Acacia and destroying the void hearts. These tunnels exist all over the place in Shurima. So Shurima, when we inevitably have that expansion, I really don't know if Shurima's going to come at launch. It could. If Shurima comes at launch, we're definitely not going underground. There's way too much going on down there. But yeah, underneath Shurima is just a bunch of void tunnels, at least in this area over here, closer to Acacia. Definitely a bunch of void tunnels. I mean, I don't know if it's extending all the way to freaking the Conqueror's Sea over here, this river. I don't think that. Well, yeah. My prophet, your empress arrived. Witness your reward. Oh, sorry, down here. There we go. Ezreal, the prodigal explorer. Just something I wanted to mention. A daring adventurer from Piltover, Ezreal is in the possession of the other powerful Shuriman gauntlet that once belonged to Harak. As detailed as prophecy, he found this artifact in the lost tomb of the Shuriman Tyrant. While Ezreal's primary motivation is fame and glory, his gauntlet connects him to the ancient conflict with the Void, and his travels have taken him to the very brink of its influence. And you could see, if we go to Ezreal, who is in Wild Rift. There he is. That's the other gauntlet of Harak. You can see how similar they look. Like, yeah, that's the other gauntlet of Harak. And so Kassadin and Ezreal is where those gauntlets are today. Although I mean, they're both pretty powerful in their own rights. I would probably rather have Kassadin's though. The confrontation, the Empress and the daughter. In the cinematic The Call, Kai'Sa battles the Xerxai queen Rek'Sai and follows her into the depths, leading her to the heart of Bel'Veth's domain, the Lavender Sea. So what's happening here is Talia, who you can see right here in the coastal city of Bel'Zun, right here, that's where she comes in. She is like she has a lot to do with Shurima, and I don't want to get into her story too much, but she comes in, meets up with Kai'Sa, and they both go and try to like find this home within this southern area. This southern area in like Saikahlik is like covered with Voidborn. People are just dead here, and if they're not dead, they're under constant nervousness with Voidborn all over the place, potential to die. But Talia and Kai'Sa try to build out this home for some of the people. I don't know where the city is, some city over here. It doesn't go well. They get there, the city is already torn up. It's actually, and you can see this place right here. Okay. They finally make it to this city where they're trying to build out a home for the people in southern Shurima, and it's just an empty wasteland. She picks up this cloth, and the city is really already gone. I don't know if I'm allowed to play that because that's probably copyright, but this is what I wanted to show you. You can see this statue here with this cut through it. That is actually the statue of Xolaani, who we're about to talk about after this. And Xolaani was really, she was probably one of the most loved aspects of Shurima. She was a healer. So you can imagine, you know, how much regular people loved Xolaani and her ability to heal. Hey, yo, hope all is well. Yo, what up, individual? I'm so sorry for you. Don't worry about it. I'm good. Nothing to be sorry about. Yeah. So this is Xolaani, the statue of her, and this is the city. They finally make it to here. They wanted to like get these people, these villagers back to their home and get all the Voidborn out of it. And you can see like this tail come from behind them. Yeah. If we go back a little bit more, they're fighting with the Voidborn, but then the biggest one comes out. Well, not that one. The biggest one's about to come out. These are just standard Voidborn. The Xerxai is what they're called. And the Xerxai really have a mother, and their mother is Rek'Sai. Let's skip all this stuff. Doesn't have to do with... Here we go. Talia, Kai'Sa, staring at each other, saying, what the heck, just coming out of the ground right now. Here we go. She jumps up, and she basically just lures Rek'Sai back underground. They know they can't defeat her, so they'll probably need like a random group of 40 or 50 adventurers to be able to defeat Rek'Sai. And then Talia takes the statue of Xolaani and pulls it down over the tunnel, sealing the darkened beneath, sealing the Voidborn beneath again. Oh, and I'll show you the rest after we get to that point, because there's a little bit more to that cinematic. Actually, you know what? Let's just go to it. Let's go to it now. You can see Kai'Sa luring Rek'Sai down, and then she's just luring Rek'Sai farther underground, burying her again. And then what's about to happen is she is going to meet up with Bel'Veth in the Lavender Sea, and she confronts the Empress. And this was all a part of Bel'Veth's plan, was to get Kai'Sa down there. An encounter detailed in the cinematic, All That Will Ever Be, Bel'Veth's color story pinwheel. So now Bel'Veth is down here, the Lavender Sea is present, and this is the first time Kai'Sa finds the Lavender Sea. And I always felt like this might be the city of Bel'Veth, the first city that she consumed. This could just be like a group of cities, all the cities that she's ever consumed. I think it's Bel'Veth, though. The port city. This is the best look that we have of the Void. Those butterflies are, you can see like some of them in Lysandra's skin that we see at the end of the trailer for the newest, I think it was, what's it called? Well, the one with Atakan and stuff, and Sinjao. You can see a lot of the stuff with Bel'Veth is like ocean themed, right? You got like these fish people. I think Kaisa calls them lamplights or something like that. But yeah, a lot of it's ocean themed because the people that she consumed were fishermen. They were from the port city. You gotta remember, Bel'Veth is like an amalgamation of what she consumes. If she consumed a bunch of people from a city that made corn, you might have like void-looking corn going all over the place. But because it's a port city, it's a bunch of fish.
What are you?
I am everything the Void has consumed. And just as I devoured this city, I will devour your world.
Just to get an understanding of how powerful Bel'Veth is. Bel'Veth is very powerful. I mean, she literally flicked her.
You disappoint me. I am not some mindless void spawn.
By the way, her just talking is insane. This freaked Kaisa out because none of the other Voidborn, like look at Rek'Sai. Rek'Sai is not talking. Kha'Zix not having a conversation. None of them actually talk. The names of Voidborn are given to them by the people that are lucky enough to survive. That's where their names come from. They don't name themselves. Bel'Veth named herself and is literally having a conversation with Kaisa here.
I am so much more. I am the end of your world and the beginning of mine.
Yeah, and she might not be wrong, honestly. She might not be wrong. Bel'Veth explains her nature and her grand design. I am everything the Void has consumed. This is from her color story pinwheel. And just as I devoured this city, I will devour your world. She then reveals two shocking truths. First, that the imprisoned Watchers are a far greater threat to existence than she is, and she offers Kaisa an alliance. Aid me in the destruction of the Watchers, and I will spare your kind. For a moment, a month, a year, more. I offer one chance. It is more than they will give you. I want to say this, which is really interesting about how Bel'Veth offers to Kaisa. She's offering her time. She's saying, I'll spare you guys for a little bit. It's the same offering that the Watchers make to Lysandra. They tell Lysandra that they're inevitable. They're going to destroy reality, no matter what. But if Lysandra aids them, one, they'll give her power, and two, they'll spare her people for a time, years or whatever. But eventually they will destroy reality. So it's almost like, just aid me, it's inevitable, and I'll give you guys a little bit of time back. And that's the same offering that Bel'Veth makes to Kaisa. Kaisa attempts to resist her though, stating, I'll fight you, says Kaisa, defiant but unsure of what to do or where to strike. I'll kill you. In response, Bel'Veth reveals that Kaisa is not the only survivor of her family. You will not. Reply the many voices of Bel'Veth. Only two still live, and of them only you retain your full mind. She's saying like only two people that are even trying to fight me still live. Two? To which Bel'Veth replies, you and your father. Bel'Veth does allow Kaisa to leave. Bel'Veth doesn't believe Kaisa is a threat, rather a tool she can use against the Watchers. Somewhere around this time, Bel'Veth also threatens Vel'Koz, the most powerful of the Voidborn, loyal to the Watchers. So I can absolutely see us, we're not going to battle the Watchers first thing into the Riot MMO. The first thing we're going to battle, the first exploration that we're going to have experience with the Void is going to be through Bel'Veth down here in Acathia. I think, we'll start out in Shurima, we'll get like touches of the Void, we'll maybe explore the Saikaklik a little bit, and then we'll get some taste of the void. Eventually we'll have to go down here and deal with Acacia and the void. Maybe we'll have like a detour expansion where we go explore Zillion and the time and the Chronomancers. And Bel'Veth is gonna finish with like an eerie, you know not what you're doing. It's way worse than me, and I could have helped you save reality, and sure I would have made it, a Lavender Sea, which we're not really happy about, but she doesn't really want to destroy reality like the Watchers do. So I can see her ending, like when we finish Bel'Veth, she's gonna leave us with the final words of a threatening ominence of what's to come. And so at this point, Bel'Veth is powerful. If you guys remember, we talked about Vel'Koz. Vel'Koz was one of the first beings created by the Watchers, one of the first Voidborn ever to exist on Runeterra. Vel'Koz's whole goal is to consume knowledge and find weaknesses in Runeterra to exploit by the Watchers. And then look at Bel'Veth's message to him.
I am the void. Your Watchers are incapable of understanding. I am the void, and I will remake all of Runeterra.
Vel'Koz literally wails. Keep in mind, everything that Vel'Koz, all the knowledge that he gets and everything, he sends it back to the Watchers. And she's trying to get Vel'Koz on her side, which would be pretty powerful. If she's able to convince Vel'Koz to join her, that'd be a very powerful ally and cut off a valuable resource to the Watchers. He's their oldest Voidborn, one of the most powerful for sure, and he sends them a ton of knowledge. Now, Vel'Koz either has two choices. He can either tell the Watchers about Bel'Veth if they don't already know about her. This looks like it freaked him out that she was able to just communicate with him directly like this. Or, maybe he will join Bel'Veth. Who knows? I mean, the reason I say that is because just like Bel'Veth, Vel'Koz has consumed a lot of knowledge on Runeterra. And it seems like when you consume enough knowledge on Runeterra, you don't want to destroy it. You want to, change it to be more void-like. At least that's what it seems like with Bel'Veth. And Vel'Koz has consumed a lot of knowledge. So it's very possible that Vel'Koz could want to join Bel'Veth. We'll see. He does say in his original, where's that one cinematic? Look what he says here, guys. He says, you guys interest me. See, your species intrigues me. Does he want to see it destroyed? I don't know. Honestly, it's possible. With this, the stage is set. Bel'Veth is the new heart of the void and seeks to consume and remake Runeterra. The ancient Watchers stir in their icy prison, threatening to unmake everything. Kaisa is caught between two apocalypses. Now knowing her father, Kassadin, still lives, hunting the very prophet who serves her new enemy. The fate of Runeterra hangs in a balance. And then you have some voice lines from Bel'Veth.
You disappoint me, Kaisa. The Watchers are the true threat.
That's her first encounter with Kaisa.
Kassadin, the void you knew is gone. Your war cannot be won. You cannot fight the Watchers alone, Lysandra.
Okay, Lyssandra's the one, don't forget, she's the one that imprisoned the Watchers in true ice beneath the Howling Abyss. And so it looks like she's trying to recruit Lysandra as well. Bel'Veth wants to unite Runeterra against the Watchers, destroy the Watchers, and then destroy everything after that. She definitely thinks that the Watchers are the main threat, which the Watchers want to destroy Runeterra. She wouldn't want that.
Witness me, my prophet.
So that's again Malzahar. That's the prophet. That's the guy who's helping her.
Queen of the Xersai, you of all things, resist the change.
Yeah, so Rek'Sai is the queen of the Xersai. I remember when we saw in that other cinematic with all the Xersai coming up, Rek'Sai is like their queen, their mother in a lot of ways.
Vel'Koz, your Watchers cannot unmake me so easily.
Vel'Koz is the eye.
You are new to me, child of the void. Show me your intentions.
Yeah, and then so now if she kills them.
You resist me, Kaisa, yet I am your salvation.
Yeah, she sees herself as like the savior of Runeterra in a lot of ways. It's crazy.
As stubborn and brave as your daughter. And now, so am I.
Yeah, I mean, oof. So she kills them, she consumes them, right? It's not like she just they just disappear. They become a part of her.
Consider an alliance, Lysandra. Consider it carefully. You saw the end, Malzahar. Now, see the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, Malzahar probably will eventually be killed by her. She's not just going to let him live. Everything needs to be consumed by her, and she needs to make everything Lavender Sea. So Malzahar would just be a tool.
All will drown beneath my lavender sea. A beast of motherly instinct. The Watchers did not anticipate this.
Yeah, the Rek'Sai is kind of her own thing as well. That's true. Rek'Sai really loves the Xersai. They are like her children. And that's a bit different for the Void. Like, the Void are not supposed to be like that, especially Voidborn. They're supposed to have a certain task, and that's what they're supposed to do, right? Like, Vel'Koz's task is to obtain knowledge and deliver it to the Watchers. They're not supposed to have thoughts and feelings. Like, Rek'Sai's not supposed to have feelings toward the Xersai as, like, children.
The Watchers must die, so the Void can be reborn. Adhere to my will, or die. Your threats mean nothing. I am beyond your comprehension.
And so that's Bel'Veth. One of the biggest threats to RUNETERRA, absolutely, without question. She is one of the biggest threats that we have. We're definitely going to deal with her in the right moment. She gives me absolutely like world boss vibes. Probably the only thing that can deal with her is a group of 40 random adventurers. And that's probably what's going to happen. Yeah, she's down here. This will be our first touch with the Void. And again, I really hope that this part isn't even on the map when we start, because it shouldn't be. Shurima erased it from history. And now, it's time for the Bloodweaver. Peace through servitude. Xolaani. The Bloodweaver's Peace, the complete saga of Xolaani. So Xolaani is probably one of the most fleshed out stories and characters in Legends of Runeterra. They definitely put a lot of love into her. I don't think she's going to disappear. She's definitely not one of those cards that's going to be like gone forever. If Legends of Runeterra's story stops growing, which I really hope it grows more. A lot of great stories and a lot of the story in Runeterra that carries forward post like the base lore that you get from the map happens in Legends of Runeterra. And Xolaani is one of the best. And so we're going to go through her whole story. What is Xolaani? What makes her such a big threat to Runeterra? A healer's fall from grace. Her story is one of tragedy. A fall from grace from a noble yet twisted desire. She was a healer who sought to end all war. A savior who became a tyrant. This is the complete lore of Xolaani, the darkened aspect's bane. From her divine ascension to her world-threatening return. The fall of the God Warrior. So this is Xolaani like way later, post-corruption. At this point, she's battling Kale and Mahira and all the Darkin at once. The fall of the God Warriors. Long ago in the golden age of the Shuriman Empire, the greatest mortal heroes were raised up by the power of the Sun Disk to become the Ascended Host. Immortal God Warriors, tasked with defending the world. Among them were figures of legend, Aatrox the noble general, Nasus the scholar, and Xolaani, a gifted and beloved healer. And you can see the Sun Disk here. It looks massive. It's one of my favorite arts of the Sun Disk, although we don't really have art of the Sun Disk in its first iteration. We only have art of its second iteration when it's being raised up again by Azir. This is still its second iteration. You can see Nasus, Renekton, and it's over here. So if you look at the full map of Runeterra, you got Shurima, and right there, the Sun Disk. You can see the associated characters, Azir, Nasus, Renekton, all of them are associated with the Sun Disk. Because the Sun Disk made them God Warriors. The glory was not to last. When the vassal state of Acathia unleashed the horrors of the Void, the Ascended were forced into a war against an incomprehensible enemy. And you could see Acathia on the right here and Shurima on the left. And Acathia was a vassal state that really didn't like being under Shurima's rule. they were their own people. Like, they had their own history, their own cultures, their own identity. And Shurima kind of just dominated them and outlawed their whole history. So it's like, imagine someone coming, they took over your country, and then your whole culture was getting erased. They said, you're now Shuriman, and you need to behave like Shuriman. There's no more Acacia. There's no more, like, of these. Let's say that your people like to do this random dance in a circle every single day in the afternoon. Well, you can't do that anymore because you're Shuriman now, and you have to do this sun dance every night, and it's not during the evening, right? That kind of stuff. Acacia didn't like that very much, and so eventually they just pretty much revolted. They slaughtered every single Shuriman in Acacia and tried to take the city back. And of course, Shuriman didn't like that very much, and then went down there, and you can see the size difference here. Yeah, Shurima was gonna win, but they, in order to like stop Shurima from winning, Acacia unleashed the Void, and the Void doesn't really have allies, allegiances, anything like that, and they just consume. And so when Acacia released the Void, it started attacking Shuriman and Acacian alike. And this was during the war. So you can see over here on the right, these orange shields, that's Acacia. And these yellow armies and shields over here on the left, that's Shurima. And at this point, once the Void is unleashed, there's no Acacia and Shurima. There's only the Void, and everyone's fighting it. It's not really Acacia versus Shurima anymore. So, mission accomplished. Saved from Shurima. But, you know, now you have to deal with freaking Void nightmares and Voidborn coming out and emerging and killing everyone. So, you won, but did you win? Though they were victorious, the cost was immense, not just in lives, but in sanity. I'm saying, although they were victorious, I'm talking about Shurima. Shurima did eventually win the Void War. They halted. I mean, you could say they won. Did they really win? They halted the Void here. They put it in like they got it to be in a stasis where at this point it's in Acacia. As long as it doesn't receive any external simulation, it will stay in Acacia. That's how the Void is. Like, if it doesn't consume frequently, it'll eventually like result in a stasis and a slumber. There's images of it. Let me show you guys that. Right here, Salt and Earth. One of the few known ways to combat the Void is to starve it. With no organic or magical sustenance nearby, the Void's material growth will slow until it eventually falls into a dormant state. And that's how Acacia looks right now. It's Void, but in a dormant state. But in order to stop the Void, the Ascended needed to fight it. That literal Ascended gods of Shurima. And that resulted in them losing their sanity. And they became what we know of today as Darken. The Void basically corrupted their minds. The Darken are a thrice cursed race. Once by ancient enemy they faced, and again by the fall of their glorious empire. And finally by the betrayal that has damned them for all eternity. Even so, the horrors of the war took a heavy toll, and those who lived to remember it were perhaps never quite as they once were. You can see some Darken here, but they are becoming Darken at this point. The final blow came with the failed ascension of their emperor, Azir, who shattered the empire and its leadership. You can see some of these images literally describe Azir's fall and Zirath's rise. So in ancient Shurima, young Emperor Azir was persuaded by Zirath, his mages, to attempt the fabled ascension ritual, despite ancient warnings to do so only in times of direst threat. And you can see Zirath here. He'd be at the bottom. Pretty sure he's in Wild Rift, right? Oh, maybe not. Nope. Azir, though. No Azir either? No Azir either. Man, well, you know, I thought there were a lot more champions in Wild Rift. We can put up Nasus. There you go. At least one ascended. You can see the sun disk behind him. So he was persuaded by Zirath. I can show you guys Zirath really quick. Where's map of RUNETERRA? Let me pull up Zirath. You can see how he looks now, at least. There he is. Literally just a bunch of arcane energy. Also gives me very much world boss vibes. Azir's hubris proved disastrous. As the sun disk focused the dawn's rays into a transformative beam, Xerath betrayed Azir, shoving his Emperor aside and stealing its power for himself. And that's Xerath the mage pushing Azir out of the way. Azir's on his knees here. In an instant, Azir was obliterated, and Xerath remained as a spectral being of pure malevolent energy, as the city around them was swallowed whole by the desert. You should not do this. Like, interfering with the Ascension ritual caused basically the sun disk's energy to kind of result in an explosion, killed a bunch of people, the entire city. Nasus and Renekton, ascended heroes of Shurima legend, sensed in an instant that something had gone terribly wrong, and rushed to the sun disk. They hurled Xerath into a chained. Renekton dragged Xerath into the tomb of the Emperors and shouted to Nasus to seal the door. With a heavy heart, Nasus entombed his brother and with a madman in the buried ruins for all eternity, or so he believed, because eventually Nasus and Renekton and Xerath do escape this, with Sivers going down there, and that's a whole story in and of itself. They do get out, and Renekton's mind is like been almost distorted by Xerath to the point where like he really thinks Nasus betrayed him. Without a master to serve, the traumatized immortal god warriors turned their ambitions against one another. They became twisted parodies of their former selves, mastering forbidden magic and carving out empires from the ruins. The mortals they terrorized gave them a new name and a whispered curse, the Darken. You can see some of the Darken here. This is the middle one looks like Ross to me, then you got Varus on the left, and the right one is Aatrox. But we're not talking about all Darken. We're talking about one specific Darken, Xolaani. You can see a statue of Xolaani in the call cinematic. Talia uses it to close the hole Rek'Sai emerged from at 308. And so right here you can see Xolaani. That's the statue of Xolaani right there. They clearly loved her in this city, but this city is really a tomb at this point. And towards the end, Talia pulls down the statue of Xolaani over the hole that Rek'Sai came from in order to close the hole to stop the Voidborn from getting out. Amidst the chaos of the Great Darken War, Xolaani pursued a different path. Once a healer who mended flesh, she now turned to the art of hemomancy, blood magic, to mend the world itself. Believing free will was the source of all conflict, she sought to bring about an ultimate enforced peace by subjugating all living things to her control. Shurima's Ascended were doomed the moment they took up arms against the Void. Madness consumed them all. Xolaani, once a beloved and gifted healer, began using her hemomantic powers to control her brethren, and soon enough, the hatred between her and Aatrox boiled over into a civil war. That's from Xolaani's Legend of Runeterra card. Her vision was not one of malice, but of a misguided salvation. She saw war as a curse she could not permit, and believed life was too precious not to be protected, even from itself. Unknown to her fellow Darken, she began using her hemomancy to force them into her servitude, making their hearts beat as one with her own. This crusade for control was the true catalyst for the Great Darken War, a conflict that, according to the Shard of Madness, a card also from Legend of Runeterra, threatened Runeterra's very existence. This is what you're seeing here. On the right is Xolaani, on the left is Aatrox. Aatrox is kind of like a general. A lot of the Darken believed he was the general, like the leader of all the Darken. He didn't really like Xolaani because she was controlling all of the Darken, and he thought the Darken needed their free will. I kind of agree with Aatrox. Her primary adversary was Aatrox. As the former general of the Ascended Host, he valued strength and will above all else. He saw Xolaani's desire for control as the ultimate act of cowardice, a betrayal of their very nature. Their ideological clash defined the war. You got some voice lines here.
You will obey your general, coward!
No, you will obey your blood.
Yeah, so Aatrox and Xolaani are the ultimate rivals. This is the rivalry to end all rivalries. This is Michigan versus Ohio State. This is the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Dallas Cowboys. This is like the rivalry of rivalries in terms of RUNETERRA. The Twilight of the Gods. Despite her unique and terrifying power, Xolaani lacked the centuries of battlefield experience that hardened warriors like Aatrox and Tarash possessed. So she was a healer. At the end of the day, how much battle experience is she going to have? She stood in the back lines and healed. You know, for all the healers out there, we appreciate what you do. We really do. But the second you try to tank something, you're going to die. And that's just common knowledge. During a climactic battle, she was nearly destroyed by Tarash. Her end was imminent. Tarash is just another Darkin. Her end was imminent, but she was saved by the unexpected intervention of the aspect of Twilight. This was not an act of mercy. As told in the story of Twilight of the Gods, the aspect tricked the remaining Darkin, gathering them under a false pretense of peace before unleashing a celestial fire that severed them from their physical forms. The aspect then taught mortal mages the art of soul binding, allowing them to seal the essence of each Darkin within their personal weapon. Xolaani, alongside her brethren, were imprisoned. Her very being was bound to her twin blades, the bloodletters. And you can see the bloodletters here. These were Xolaani's weapons. You can see them here. She's holding one of the bloodletters. Every Darkin was imprisoned within their weapon. Aatrox was imprisoned in that great sword, which was the coolest Darkin weapon. But Xolaani had these bloodletters, and that's where she was imprisoned. Specifically, she was imprisoned in Ionia. For centuries, the bloodletters were hidden away in Ionia at Mistfall, a sacred site guarded by Master Yi and his Wuju disciples. Master Yi is arguably one of the most powerful mortals in all of RUNETERRA. This guy's strong, and he was guarding. He was specifically chosen in Ionia to guard the temple, and you can see some of his Wuju students there. The style of Wuju, pretty powerful. Specifically, one of his favorite students, June, right here. He's training with her. She's clearly working very hard, and he's just doing a flip with a smile. This is actually where they were stored in Mistfall. This is an image of Mistfall from Legends of RUNETERRA. Man, we should do a video. I should do a video on the Titans. The Titans and the huge beings in this war with the in Ionia that a lot of people don't know about, and how the Vastaya came about. That could be a really cool video. We should talk about that another time. But such power cannot remain dormant forever. The weapon's presence was discovered by the shadow warrior Kain, who, driven by the ambitious Darkin Rost within his sight, sought to claim a second weapon for himself. Kain already had a Darkin weapon. Freaking crazy. This guy is just truly an ego. Truly an ego to rival all egos. Where's Kain? Kain, right there. Yeah, Kain, you can see the Darkin scythe right here. That is where the weapon that holds Rost. So he already had a Darkin weapon, and I guess he truly believed he could control two. Kain's assault on the Wuju temple was a massacre. Master Yi fought valiantly, but his students were unprepared for such an onslaught. From the corner of his eye, Yi saw a flash of steel and heard an unmistakable thud of a lifeless body. Could it have been her? How could he have failed his pupils so utterly? They were untrained and unprepared. But he was a master of Wuju, and neither shame nor shadow would win the day. And you could see all of the students fighting Kain, trying to protect the temple. Kain is really way too powerful for anyone but Master Yi. You can see him fighting with Master Yi using some of his shadow abilities. You can see June in the background. And here's Master Yi using some of his abilities against Kain. So there's multiple possible endings here. It's not just one. And there's one ending where Xolaani becomes the world threat, like one of the greatest threats to all of RUNETERRA possible. And there's another ending where another character becomes probably one of the world's greatest threats ever in RUNETERRA. So either way is not very good for us, but one possible ending here would be if Kain obtains the Darkin bloodletters, in which case he is consumed by Rost. I have a whole story about this and what my thoughts are, but if Kain does obtain the bloodletters, it looks like he's finally consumed by Rost, and Rost now has the Darkin bloodletter and the Darkin scythe in his hand, and you can see him in his full Rost form. Rost is awesome. Rost let out a triumphant howl. Years of waiting, yearning, and now he was finally free. He lifted Xolaani's blade and put them to his tongue, savoring the taste of fresh blood. He closed his eyes in bliss, and a smile crept across his face for the first time in millennia. The reaping had begun. I love that line. The reaping had begun, and literally the weapon that Rost uses is a scythe, which is used for harvesting. In a divergent timeline, so this is another timeline. If this doesn't happen, let's say that Rost Kane doesn't win, doesn't obtain the darkened weapon. In the midst of the carnage, Yi's most promising student, June, was pushed to the brink. This is June again, like literally his most promising student. This is him training with June. Her card is literally called June the Prodigy. In the midst of the carnage, Yi's most promising student, June, was pushed to the brink. Wounded, surrounded by bodies of her friends, and desperate to save her master, she made a fatal choice. A voice, soft as summer rain, whispered in her thoughts. As the fighting raged on, June, desperate and badly wounded, turned to the voice whispering in her thoughts. "You will never die," it said, soft as summer rain, "because I will never let you." And there's June reaching for the darkened blood letters. And there's these two cards. There's Momentous Choice, which is June finally actually choosing to grab the blood letters. And then when she does, utter devastation. And you could see like it's almost like it's coming out and around and then going into June. And June is now being possessed. She realizes at this point, wasn't a great choice. So for Momentous Choice, this first card, it reads, Angry, tears streamed down June's face as she surveyed the bodies littering the ground. She had failed them. She had failed her master. And now only one choice remained. As she took hold of the weapons, her humanity fled, and in place a hateful essence filled the emptying vessel that was once the student, June. It washed through her, over her, around her, and out into the world, stirring the slumbering darken. Believing that her only option, June took up the cursed blades. In that instant, her humanity was scoured away, her body becoming an empty vessel for the hateful essence that filled it. Xolaani was free. And here you can see Xolaani now with the darkened blood letters, and you can always tell like different darken possess in different ways. Like you'd still see little remnants of June. Unlike Aatrox, when he possesses a darken, possesses a immortal, he like completely dominates them and takes over their full visage to the point where it just looks like Aatrox. But the problem with Aatrox is that he kind of degrades the mortal's form quickly, and they end up dying just because of what he's doing to their body, and he has to find another vessel. So it looks like Xolaani doesn't completely do that. It's like a half, where you can still see aspects of June. You can see the eye, the hair, the overall body shape. So still a little bit of June in there. The altars awaking. Now inhabiting the body of June, Xolaani returned to her place of power in Shurima, the altar of blood. The ancient temple had been maintained for centuries by her devoted followers, the Darkened Thralls, who prayed for her return and eagerly awaited her control. You can see some of the Darkened Thralls here. Xolaani is up there on the pedestal in the altar of blood. At this point, she made it to Shurima. So immediately after taking over June, she leaves Ionia and heads straight for Shurima. We don't know exactly where the altar of blood is. I've never seen it on here. It's definitely somewhere in Shurima, but where? We don't know. Another thing, you can see Tarash trying to make it there in time. He's like that red burst on the top left. That's Tarash. Another Darken. The ancient temple had been maintained for centuries by her devoted followers, the Darkened Thralls, and you can see one of them here. This is the Altar of Blood card text. The altar throbbed to life once more, shaking the sands around it with a slow, steady beat. Each of Xolaani's disciples felt the same beat deep in their heart. Every muscle, every thought, every moment. They were all hers to control. You can see them. These Darkened Thralls, I wonder if it just got twisted over time. Like their faith in Xolaani, she was a healer at one point in Shurima, and like why they loved her control so much. Darkened Thralls are interesting. If we ever see Xolaani in the Riot MMO, we're definitely going to see these Darkened Thralls with her. We'll have to fight like groups of them. I'm sure there'll be a couple really powerful ones. As Xolaani began a ritual to amplify her power, her re-emergence sent shock waves across RUNETERRA. Aatrox felt her awakening and knew the time had come for their final war. He rallied the remaining of the Darkin, preparing to face the coward of Acacia, and finally find the peace of oblivion he so desperately craved. And this is his first card. Even across continents, Aatrox felt her awakening, from the hatred and how the hatred still burned. He had already broken her statues. Now he could wage a final war against the coward of Acacia, and through destroying her, end this pitiful existence. There's other Darkins they also stirred. I think that Awakening trailer does a great job, but you can see Anaka, Bel'Veth, Harazi, Iberos. I mean, I can go through each of these, like where they come from exactly if you guys want. Like Anaka comes from the Freljord. You can see her sprinting through. Anaka is all the way from the Freljord. And you got to remember, they're all heading towards Shurima. And that's what these card arts show. They're not just random images of them. Anaka started in the Freljord. She gets picked up by a Freljordian. And she's racing to Shurima. And so, of course, she has to go through Demacia to get there. And you could see her just like sprinting through these Demacians. There's a Demacian like not even knowing what's happening. And there's some Freljord ice getting broken apart. Bel'Veth is probably the toughest one for Xolaani to deal with, because he's literally made of a bandle magic and a tree in like literally a tree from the Bandlewoods. So he's got no blood to manipulate. He's a really cool one. There's Harazi. You can see her battling Xolaani right here on the bottom right. You can see one of Xolaani's blood letters. Iberos is from Bilgewater, and he is actually clearly picked up by like a sea monster of some sort, and he is still loyal to Xolaani. So he wakes up, and even in his voice lines, if we go to Iberos' voice lines, actually I think is it Iberos' voice lines? Yeah. Or his card. Iberos card, Legends of RUNETERRA. The Darken Harpoon. Yeah. It reads, Iberos, the champion of the dunes, lifted himself through the water, his blood coursed with the same familiar yearning from years before. To serve, to obey, to submit. So Iberos actually is still loyal to Xolaani. Here's Jorel, he, joining Aatrox, going to fight against Xolaani. This is Neganeka, she's coming from Noxus. Pra, the Breachwalker in Ionia, but comes out from the Spirit Realm. Striatu comes from Zon. You can see a bunch of Cheerians all over the place. Taraj comes from the Shadow Isles. Then there's Varus. Varus also comes from Ionia. The war for RUNETERRA's soul. The Second Darken War began. This time Xolaani was far more powerful. She easily defeated Aatrox's allies, including the mighty Tarash, who had once nearly killed her. She broke their wills and enthralled them, forcing her old enemy to speak her truth.
Speak my truth, Tarosh.
Tarosh.
Peace through servitude.
Yeah, so every time she defeats one of these Darkin, they're joining her, right? It's not like that she's just killing them. They are becoming a part of her. With newfound vigor, the great warrior Anaka sped through the Freljord and into Demacian lands. The outposts prepared as best they could to repel her assault, but no mere mortal would stand between Anaka's fury and the coward who stoked it. Xolaani watched as Anaka fell to his knees, subjugated by the very enemy he sought so desperately to destroy. Slowly, the beat of his heart rang out in unison with the others. Another heart to control, another body to command. So all the Darkin are falling under Xolaani's control. Her army is getting more and more powerful at this point. It's becoming harder and harder to stop her, really. The sheer scale of the conflict scarred the very land, forcing the hands of the heaven, the aspect of justice, Mahira, forcing the hand of the heavens. The aspect of justice, Mahira, descended from Targon with a divine army, aided by her daughter, Kael. You can see this in Mahira, and she kind of has like this divine army. If you look like above her, they're all shooting out of the wall. Just know that these like flying things are with Mahira. Good guys, right? And a lot of people always thought Mahita was dead. This clearly proves that Mahita is not dead. She's alive. And so it looks like her daughters come back to help her. Well, Kale at least. Not so much Morgana. At the same time, the Rune Mage Rise watched the Cataclysm unfold and wrestling with a terrible question. Did he have the right to use the world-ending power of the World Runes to stop it? Look at this. You can see one of Mahita's beings pleading with her, almost like, look at the destruction, look what's happening, Rise. And Rise is looking at it in contemplation and a little bit don't tell me what to do, in a way. Rise is deciding, is it worth using a world rune to save all of RUNETERRA, in a way. Rise crested the ridge, accompanied by Kale's silent servant. He looked down on a land scarred by war and caught sight of the darkened monstrosities warring below. For centuries, he had watched on as humanity veered from one catastrophe to another. What if, he thought, his efforts were futile and RUNETERRA was doomed to die? Then we enter Aspect's Bane. This is where Xolaani truly becomes the world-ending threat that I was talking about. As Rise hesitated, Xolaani faced the divine host. Her power had grown so immense that not even an Aspect could stand against her. In a battle that shook the foundations of the world, she defeated Mahita. But she did not kill her. Instead, she claimed the Aspect of Justice as her new vessel. Her power reaching an unimaginable peak, bursting from June's form, she became something new and terrifying. Xolaani, Aspect's Bane. Kale could only watch in horror as the monster wearing her mother's face turned to her. More. Even the great hero of legend Mahita could not withstand Xolaani's overwhelming strength. The earth seemed to shudder to one beat now. Such was the hemomantic power growing within Xolaani. She took a moment to observe the battlefield and wept with joy filling her soul. Soon this world would be united in peace, in love, in silence. And these are some of the voice lines between Kale and Xolaani.
You do not deserve to bear her visage.
Oh, that's the wrong one.
We are nothing if not divine.
Oh, well, that's this one down here, so I don't know why that got mixed up. But you can hear Kale saying, you upset her visage.
You do not deserve to bear her visage.
She's talking about her mother.
We are nothing if not divine.
So that's these two.
Why do you look on me with horror, child? We are one, Kale. We are your mother.
You make a mockery of all she stands for.
We are nothing if not divine.
Yeah, so at this point, Xolaani has taken over Mahita's body, and Kale is really disturbed. With the power of the Aspects under her control, Xolaani was on the verge of achieving her goal. The entire world was about to be united in her silent, willless peace. You know what this reminds me of a lot of? Arcane and Victor. So if you haven't watched Arcane, you definitely should. It's a great show. But Victor, a little bit of a spoiler warning here. Victor wants to control the whole world by perfecting it, right? But there is no truth in perfection. There's only the end of pursuit. And I wonder if Xolaani would have faced that same result, or if she would have been happy with the end result. Victor is not. Victor sees it as nothing's growing, nothing's changing, nothing is adapting anymore. It's just silent nothingness. And that's kind of what Xolaani's trying to do. Although instead of through the arcane, she's trying to do it through blood magic. So I thought that was really interesting. They're very similar. And now we talk about Rise. Where's he at? Rise. Witnessing the fall of an aspect, Rise knew he could no longer stand by. His mind was made up. RUNETERRA and its flawed free will people deserve to be saved. You can see Rise using one of the world runes here. Rise pulled himself back to the present. The mindscape he's visited had answered his questions and filled him with purpose. The flaws of RUNETERRA's people, great as they were, should not condemn them to oblivion. Accepting his solemn duty, Rise unleashed the raw cosmic power of the world runes. In a blinding flash of creation magic, he struck down the Ascended Darkin, ending her threat once and for all. Thus ends the saga of Xolaani, the healer who loved life so much she sought to control it completely, becoming one of the greatest threats RUNETERRA has ever known. And we can even go here and see some of Ryze's voice lines. Let's get Ryze theme. There he is, Ryze. And you can see, like, this is all during the battle.
The Rune Mage, come to watch his precious world die.
No, come to stop you, whatever it takes.
Like, here's when Kayle, like, he first meets up with Kayle.
My messenger reached you then. I am glad.
Yeah.
If you had called on me sooner, we might have time for pleasantries. What right do I have to use a world rune?
You are responsible for their use, none other.
Yeah, so Kayle's literally trying to convince him to use a world rune to save RUNETERRA. Then he meets Xolaani.
You must be Ryze. Bow to your queen.
You're not the first to ask me. You won't be the last.
Here's more with Kayle.
Are you and I the only ones standing up to this madness?
Who else can, old friend?
Ah, Kayle. Here to witness the end.
I am here to prevent it, Ryze. As are you.
Xolaani, I have seen your statues. The people loved you.
They will love me once again, as will you.
Yo, thanks for the follow, Cred. Yeah, so Xolaani and Ryze going at it. These voice lines show the whole story. We don't need those ones, but there's where is it? Winged Messenger. So this is the Winged Messenger. I think this is like when he encounters it the first time here in his level 1 card art. You can see the Winged Messenger there.
Here we are, Messenger, standing at the precipice. Kayle was wise in sending you.
So she sends one of those to Ryze to recruit him to the fight. And there should be more. Thought there was another one for Xolaani. But yeah, that's how Xolaani's story ends, is Ryze literally using a world rune to end the war. Kayle and Ryze are buddies, they are. I always wonder though after this if Mahita is still alive or if she's dead at this point. And that's the stories I wanted to go through today. So we had a whole story on Bel'Veth's rise. We talked about Xolaani and her whole story. Hey there, I really appreciate your effort you put into the stream. I'd love to connect and share ideas beyond. Yeah. Hey Mason. Yeah, always looking to connect with everyone and grow. And I might be starting the podcast, The Brazen Hydra, again, and just talk with randoms, of you guys from the community and talk about the lore one-on-one and like record that discussion and post it, right? So usually at this part of the stream, we start talking through what else you guys want to see. What are the next stories you guys want to see in the series? So we did the deep lore dive. Tomorrow, I am going to go through these posts from League of Legends. We're going to talk about what's coming next for RUNETERRA. I do have some ideas. So if we go to here, not this one. Where is it? Oh, right here. Yeah. Oh, I need to like, let me open it in a new tab by itself so we can zoom in. Yeah, look at this. That definitely has a lot of meaning to it. And we're going to talk through this, like what the Truth Motion comic, what it could be holding, what's this act going to look like for story-wise, because there's clearly something that we've been lied to about, right? And I kind of was already hinting at that. And I think there's a lot of lies in this image. You can see the fractured mirror which has to do with, definitely has to do with LeBlanc. I still don't think that this is correct either. I really don't think that Atakan is grabbing the Darken weapon. I still think that somehow she's separating maybe, what's his name, Katashli from Atakan, and Katashli is being used to grab the Darken weapon. I think this whole image is a lie. After all, we're seeing Demacia on fire with Xin Zhao on his knees, facing like the Demacian throne room, the Hall of Valor, which he saw in his dreams, right? And it was falling apart. Everyone was dead. And Xin Zhao is not going to magically teleport from freaking Ionia back to Demacia within a single act. Maybe he could. It's possible that he could go back to Demacia and see it falling apart, but I really think that that whole image is a lie. I accidentally closed it out. So yeah, that's one thing that we want to talk about. There's another thing. I didn't know whether we should talk about League of Legends Turkey. Jeez. I meant just League of Legends. There we go. They released these these arts, but I don't think this has anything other than looking very cool. I definitely think. There we go. I don't think Kennen and Yunara are going to get along. Even though Kennen was around during the time when Yunara first was in RUNETERRA, I don't think they'll get along now, because Yunara is not this peaceful Kinku order that we see today with Shen and Kennen. I think Kennen's almost pushed the Kinku order beyond what they're supposed to be in terms of peace and staying out of conflicts. Like, the Kinku order of today is just about balance between the spirit realm and RUNETERRA. And technically, if you look at Darken today, they're not violating the balance between the material realm and the spirit realm, and the Kinku order would stay out of the fight. But in the past, when Yunara was in the Kinku order, they did. They were literally front lines in the war with the Darken. So I don't think they're going to get along. I think Kennen kind of dociled the Kinku order a lot over the centuries. And then you have up top, you see like Kale and Aatrox fighting. And I don't think that this is going to be... This is just showing another lie. I was talking to everyone about it in Discord and what their thoughts were. And I forgot who it was that said it, that it's just like showing another lie in the history of RUNETERRA, which is true. It was a lie. That the way the Demacians see it is that Kale was the only protector of RUNETERRA. If you ever played Mage Seeker, you played through that whole part. But yeah, you see Morgana's chains holding down Aatrox, but you don't see Morgana. So this is probably like the second scene of this page. If it's a motion comic, it probably won't show the chains at first. It'll just show Kale fighting Aatrox, and then it'll say the lies that you don't know, and then the chains will appear. So I could definitely see that happening. Trials of Twilight Xin Zhao, that sounds cool. So yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. So I'll add that to where's our list? Let me add that. I need to add it. Let me open a text document really quick. Okay, so topics for Monday. We did Bel'Veth, we did Xolaani. We could definitely do Azir and Xerath. I want to talk about what comes next for League of Legends speculation story. So that we're going to go through those tweets. And then for the next one, it can be Azir and Xerath. I always like to look through, like, just go to the map and see where I'd want to go. I feel like we've done a lot of Shurima and Acathia. Like, it'd be easy to tie in Azir's story, and we could talk through that tomorrow. But I also kind of want to go somewhere else and explore another story. The Freljord is one of my favorites. If you guys want to go over, we can go over, like, Warren, or we can just go over general of the Freljordian spirit gods and what they entail and, you know, what their history is. They were definitely a lot more powerful before. Or we can go through the Three Sisters. We can go through Lissandra's story. The Freljord has some of the best lore, in my opinion. Out of all the lore in RUNETERRA, the Freljord is the best. We can go to Noxus. Noxus has a lot of ties to Ionia. I just feel like we've been in this area for a while, haven't we? We did Xin Zhao. We did Noxus a little bit with the lie. Top 10 lore champions. I just feel like both these stories are kind of in the same area. They're both Shurima and Acacia. So let's get out of there for at least tomorrow. We'll come back to it. So I don't know if we're going to do Azir. We'll do Azir and Zuret, but I don't think we'll do it tomorrow. Let's do something else. Definitely the one, what comes next, though. That has to happen. What about the Shadow Isles? Could go over Viego. Or Thresh. Thresh's story is really cool. They'll tie in Viego, but we won't like go all the way into Viego's story. Yorick's story is pretty cool. Maokai, when you talk about the Blessed Waters. Best viewers. Man, there's so many people selling bots. I thought their bots were cleared out on Twitch. Didn't that recently happen that everyone just cleared out all the bots? Like Twitch just went through and wiped them all out. Elise could tie in really well to what we've seen in... you know what? Okay, I'm going to add Elise. Elise's story could definitely be one that I think is really cool because we'll go all the way from Noxus to the Shadow Isles to back again. We'll talk through LeBlanc. We'll get a little bit. We'll touch on the Black Rose a little bit because she does have some history there. Isn't Xin Zhao getting a new story? Or did he already? I know he got a new biography. I talked through everything in his biography. But I wonder if he was getting a new color story. Not that his color story has anything to do, like anything wrong with... It doesn't need to be retconned or anything. Yeah, no. This was there. I read this one many a times. Yeah. Maybe, I don't think you take that one away. You can kind of just add a new story. We can go through Ishtal too. I like Ishtal. Ishtal still feels pretty sad. We can do, I mean, Ishtal's freaking isolated as heck. So we could definitely do Ishtal. There's Skarner, who's recently got his lore revamped. That one's pretty cool. Zira. Zira's another threat. There'll definitely be I don't know if Zira will have she won't have a whole expansion dedicated to her, but she'll definitely have like a patch. I can see Zira being a world-ending threat, at least in some ways. Not world-ending, but definitely Ishtal threatening. And perhaps that's our door in to Ishtal, is helping with Zira and dealing with her overgrowth. Skarner, though. Now, Skarner is a world boss. That's the kind of boss that you want. Massive. A lot of problems. Hearing the thrums of all of RUNETERRA, to the point where he's kind of gone mad and he's willing to destroy Ishtal to isolate it. Keep it isolated. You know, I had a theory about Milio that there's something wrong with his fire axiomata, that it's actually not a good thing. I forgot what I said about it. I have to reread his lore. I remember when I first read it, I was like, how many world-ending threats do you think we will get before the MMO? And will they keep more for the MMO? Need them for the raids and main story? I think it really depends on when the MMO starts timeline-wise. Like right now, we're just kind of establishing. Look at Atakan. Where is it? Look at, let's go to the map. That'd be the best way to do it. There it is. So like, we're really just adding characters at this point. We're adding, if we add Katashli, and if he's not merged with Atakan, and Atakan's just a loose demon at this point, and you merge Katashli with a Darkin, like we're not really solving any problems. We haven't solved any problems in RUNETERRA in a long time. Other than in Legends of RUNETERRA, which can easily be just, we're not starting then, you know, that's somewhere in the future. We've only really added problems. Like right now, where we're going to start is definitely the Watchers will be frozen in true ice. The Darkin will be imprisoned in their weapons. The Shadow Isles will be established. We're not going to start with like the Blessed Isles, and then the Shadow Isles is coming later. Viego would have already been there. Skarner would already be established in Ishtal. Ishtal will be isolated. Like the way the Riot mode is going to start, we're not going to even have Ishtal explorable. It's just going to be like this hidden away place that we've never heard of, that is just like a jungle that will eat you alive. Acacia, I don't think will even be on the map. It's going to be cut off. Like, that's a whole expansion in and of itself that we're not going to have explored, and nothing will be solved there. So this will all be like, Shurima erased Acacia off the map, so I want to see the map start without Acacia on it. Like, it's intentionally hidden. Mount Targon, we haven't even dealt with the aspects who have caused us all kinds of problems. I think the aspects are bad. I think all the aspects are bad. Like, us stealing power from this Aurelian soul to empower aspects through the Sun Disc was probably a really bad move. Aurelian soul doesn't like us very much, and he's probably the most powerful being in all of the cosmos. We got to deal with the Mage Seekers in Demacia. I think at the beginning, Demacia will not have mages playable, any kind of magical mage class. I think the events of Mage Seeker, I do want to play through the Riot Forge games with you guys, but I don't think Mage Seeker is going to stay. I don't think the Riot Forge games are going to stay canon. I know that they said that now. They're like, oh, this is all canon. But even Song of Nunu, man, like Song of Nunu, look at this. I don't think these games are going to stay canon. I don't want to show the whole boss fight. But like, they're literally fighting in the bottom of the Howling Abyss with a Watcher looking up at them. Maybe I should just show it. I'll just show a little bit of it. Yeah. Yeah, where is it? I want to see like the intro. Look at this. They come in. There's no way this stays canon.
Is this other path you speak of? Enlighten me.
I don't know yet.
That's the Howling. That's the bot.
Together.
You can't just walk down there. Look at this. The Watcher's just sitting there. Literally, it's supposed to be maddening.
Secret option number 3. You just gotta look hard to see it.
Sight? You talk to me about sight. I may be blind, child, but my vision is clear, and I see your doom.
It was a great game, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's gonna stay canon as like the whole story is great, even everything up to this point where they're fighting over the Howling Abyss with a literal Watcher just looking up at them. I told you the Eye in the Abyss is one of my favorite stories because how it describes the Watchers, the bottom of the Howling Abyss, and these things melting. So yeah, I don't think it's going to stay canon. The Mage Seeker pushes the story too far to the point it literally solves Demacia. Like, it does, the story in there is great, especially the cards that they show and the cards that you pick up, but it solves the story of Demacia. It makes it where now everyone's at peace and, oh, now we're friendly with the mages. It's too much. I hope the Echo one doesn't stay canon because of the multiverse thing. I'm not a fan. Oh, definitely. That one, I think they didn't even say it was canon at all because it's definitely a different universe. So if you go to, I'll show you, the End of Convergence, even if it does stay canon, that one actually doesn't matter because it's definitely on End of Convergence, Riot Forge. What the heck is that? Riot Forge cinematic. Where is it? Where's the end of it though? There's like a cinematic at the end that shows convergence. Where is like the convergence? All boss endings. Maybe I'll show it here. Oh, right here. I think that's it. Yeah. Okay, you can see it here. Yeah. Okay, so this Echo, this...
It has to be sealed!
I don't want to show like too much of it. I just want to show this one part. Okay, so look how he's flipping through timelines here. Yeah, so that's one timeline. This is the timeline that we're on. Because the Arcane is definitely canon. They're not going to change that. Arcane's too popular. They're never going to take it away. It's already massive, and the Riot MMO is going to start with Piltover and Zon in it, at least the superficial level of Zon, and who knows, maybe the first expansion will be, look at 2XKO. The first thing they did was add every single Arcane champion they could, right? They added Echo, Vi, Jinx, like half the roster is Arcane. Because Arcane just, I think it did even better than they expected. So Arcane is going to stay canon. Well, everything will else, if something needs to change because of it, it will change. But he flipping his finger to look through different timelines, and one of them is the last drop. So Convergence is on an alternate timeline for sure. So it could stay canon and it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't affect anything in our world. There's another timeline. And here's the timeline with his parents that he goes to. But yeah. That just shows like it's definitely a different timeline. And I say definitely too much. But yeah, it's a different timeline. I think that sounds cool though. We can go through Elise. What comes next for League of Legends tweets? Is there anyone else? I do want to cover the Freljord gods. Like we could go through a Volibear and Ornn story. That sounds kind of cool. Volibear versus Ornn. That could be another one. What comes next for League of Legends? The tweets, we definitely gonna go over those. Man. Oh, thanks Hemo for the follow. Thanks Mason for the follow. Thanks Cred for the follow. Appreciate you guys. Yeah, the reason I keep those silent is because they do get uploaded to YouTube and I don't want it to be the sound effect playing. Yeah. I think that's good. Could do Bilgewater. I actually covered Pike recently. I just didn't get the article up because I started doing this after the fact with these articles. So I have the YouTube video on Pike's lore and what I think he is. He's a unique case. And then I started doing the articles, which you guys can access here. Yeah. You can actually access these articles right there. riotgrove.com/endgrove. Volibear versus Ornn honestly could be a really good one. Really cool one. Something different than what we've been doing. And that'll include like the spirit gods and stuff like that. I'm between that and something associated with the Shadow Isles. If we're going to do the Shadow Isles, it's either going to be Thresh or Maokai. Not Viego. Or could we do Viego? I feel like everyone knows Viego's story. These bots are crazy. There's so many of them. They like, I mean, it's not like they do anything for me. It's not like I have bots, but they just pop in for a split second, post, and leave. Yeah. Stupid. There's way too many bots. Even I know Twitch like did a combing through them of they wiped out a bunch of people's bots, which everyone lost viewers because, you know, a bot, they'll put it in someone's stream. Let's say Asmongold has a bot that's watching his stream. They don't just make the bot go into Asmongold's stream because then it'll get caught right away. If a bot just comes online every time Asmongold's online, they're going to say it's not a real person. So the bot ends up cycling through other people's streams while Asmongold is offline. So it'll go watch my stream and go watch someone else's stream and a bunch of people's streams to make it look like a real person. Yeah, it's an epidemic. Yeah. Okay. I'm honestly going to spin a wheel because I'm indecisive right now. It's Elise, Volibear, and Ornn. I'm actually going to add Viego. And we're gonna spin a wheel. Thresh. You guys have no idea how many times I do this to like decide something. Like for streaming. Not anything crazy, right? But just whenever it comes something stream, you can see Wild Rift there. I forgot why I did that one. There was other stuff on there. So let's do Elise. Oh. Yeah. I need to add spin a wheel to my website because of how much I use it. Elise, Volibear, and Ornn. I don't think that we'll do them separately. There'll definitely be one video for Volibear and Ornn. Viego, Thresh, Azir and Zirath. Should we add them? We'll add them. If the wheel decides, even though they're the one that I don't want to go through the most, but if the wheel decides that they should be in there, then they will be chosen. Have you done Jax? I really like Acacia's story. Well, I did just cover Acacia a lot with Bel'Veth. So we did just do like Bel'Veth's Rise, which covered Acacia a lot. But Jax's story is very specific. We can start like almost here. So I'm going to add Jax there. We can add Jax. Jax. Do we want to add Zillion? Zillion's story is awesome. Okay, we'll add Zillion. Okay. I think that's good. That's good. So one way that I do it is I spin the wheel and I remove whatever gets chosen, and then whatever is left at the end. But I don't think I'm going to do that right now because I added way too many. So it's whatever the wheel lands on. That's what we're going to do for tomorrow. But this one is guaranteed. I have to do this one. What comes next for League of Legends? Those tweets, I want to discuss them with you guys. I feel like Jax ties nicely with the Dark and Ascended, and I think you've already done those. Yeah, okay. You know what? I agree. Jax is that option for sure. We're going to do spin and remove. No. Should we? I think that'll take too long. I want to make sure I don't lose these, because I did add Jax. Jax I liked. Maybe we will just do Jax. Now I'm feeling him. Yeah. You know what? Hemosaur, you're in here. You're talking to me. You're trying to get me to do a story, and I'm going to do it. Boom. Let's see what the wheel would have decided anyways, but it doesn't matter at this point. I'm going to do what comes next for Legion of Tweets. The rest of these will have to wait for later in the week. Either Thursday or Friday. What would the wheel have decided? Okay, so the wheel decided Thresh, but it's very close to Azir and Zirath, which I didn't want to do, so it's basically Jax. So, tomorrow, what comes next for League of Legends tweets and Jax? Ha, I appreciate it. Yeah. No. Hey, you're in the stream. I really hope that I'll see you here tomorrow for Jax's part. I'm probably gonna do this part first, so if you want to see if you only want to see the Jax part, I'll start that probably around 8 o'clock. But I will see you guys tomorrow. Awesome stream as always. I freaking talking through the lore has been way more fun than I could have expected. Like actually talking through the lore with you guys and creating these articles ahead of time and like going through the lore with the stream. Way better than I expected. More fun than I expected. So I'll see you guys tomorrow around 7 a.m. EST. Peace. See you, Jen.